All right, everyone, welcome to Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, websites by Plebs or Plebs. Drop us a like, subscribe. Let's go take a look at the numbers.
Number time!
At the time of this recording, the block height is 699,537. The Bitcoin price, 46,870. Chain rewrite days, 874. Total public Lightning capacity, 2,388.23. Sats per dollar, 2,134. And blocks to the halvening, 140,463. They sound funner than they are. Had a nice dip today.
Dude, and
pretty much a 10K candle.
Bro, I'm telling you, I think we picked up some signal, bro. Guess what happened? The price took a dip, but the Lightning network capacity, another all-time high, 2,388 BTC.
Nico, I swear, my blinders are on. I didn't even realize the number that I said.
Dude, no.
But you're absolutely right. It's a new all-time high for the Lightning Network. That's so crazy.
And it happened when the price dips. There might be something there, right? It's weird because we see the price every day, and then you start to see the patterns and stuff, right? And I don't know, man.
You know what? Cheaper to open channels.
Exactly.
Maybe that's what it is. So that kind of so now you're making me think, like, does that mean people are sitting waiting on the sidelines for these dips to open channels? So there's kind of like a build-up essentially of, Lightning channels that are to be opened on dips.
Very, very interesting, dude. That could
front running the dips with Lightning channels.
Woof! Bullish. You see that, guys? Look, it's good news anyways. We have a dump, right? Because our friends in high places don't want Bitcoin to succeed. They're not really our friends. They're evil people. But the good news is the Lightning goes up when Bitcoin goes down, when the fiat price of Bitcoin goes down. So anyways, there might be something there. We'll keep on top of it. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the daily fail. So this is going to be an interesting story that we're going to put together, and it all starts with the person that we dumped on yesterday, Crypto Whale, and his disingenuousness, right? That we were able to show the receipts for. So check this out. This is where it starts, okay? And it has to do with, of course, El Salvador, having, Bitcoin as a legal tender today. Here we go. El Salvador's government has halted all Chivo Bitcoin wallets after dozens of technical difficulties. The government has full control. They can turn on or off anyone's wallet whenever they want. This is Satoshi's nightmare, an authoritarian's dream come true.
Phil, if we both can't read, that's a major issue.
It totally is. It totally is. But don't worry. Even though we can't read, we still get the point across.
Yeah,
we do get the point across. Okay, so check this out, right? Notice there isn't a link to this. Notice there is a screenshot to this.
He made this up?
So hold on. This is my contention. Okay? So hold on. I'm going to attempt to show my receipts that I think this is total. I'm calling bullshit on this. I think this is completely fake. Okay? And here's why I think this is completely fake. So take a look at this. El Presidente Nayib Bukele anuncia interrupción en la utilización de Chivo wallet. Okay? That's as far as I'm going with reading that. So look, it looks like it comes from something legitimate, right?
Can I translate it for everybody who's running? So it basically says Nayib Bukele announced an interruption in the utilization of Chivo wallet to reinforce technical aspects, for anyone who's running.
Okay. So that looks legitimate, right? Sure. Anyways, so if I went, and just for the sake of it, I Googled, because look, anytime you find a document like this, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. Like, you just go and type anything in any document, Google will pull it up. This doesn't exist anywhere, okay? Even this first one here talks about interrupting criminal finances. Nothing to do with Bitcoin. You can go look up any one of these, and like, they show you the beginning of every single one of these articles. None of this exists. Okay? That letter. This is fake. I'm all like, if somebody finds the real one, please post it in the show notes. I'm saying it's bullshit. Okay. So besides my, 2-second Googling on the fact that none of this beginning even exists on anything that's on the internet except this screenshot, which, don't get me wrong, something this big, you'd think you'd provide a link to it. Why wouldn't you, right? Okay, so that's the first thing, right? Okay, so now we go to the disingenuous media. Okay, so we're still on the same topic of what's going on in El Salvador. So that was one piece of FUD where I'm calling bullshit on. Now here's another one, similar but not the same. El Salvador government to punish businesses that don't accept Bitcoin. But we've heard that both USD and Bitcoin are legal tender there, and that's not what they said. He specifically said, we heard him in a speech, right? You even played the speech where people would have the choice.
Usar Bitcoin no es obligatorio. Tendrás la opción de pagar y cobrar con Bitcoin o dólares.
And this guy here, Alex Dovbunya. Anyways, I went to go look at his Twitter profile, and it's just full of anti-Bitcoin shit. Anyways, businesses that refuse to accept Bitcoin will face sanctions in El Salvador. Okay? So check this out. During a Monday interview, Javier Argueta, legal advisor to El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele, said that businesses that refuse to make transactions with Bitcoin and use the national Chivo wallet will face sanctions under the country's consumer protection laws. And he cited this article over here, okay, which we're going to go pull up. Okay, actually, we're not going to pull up that particular article, okay, but we are going to pull up one response. Okay. Nico, do you know if that's like a newspaper or something like that over there?
Noticieros Salvador. Sounds like a news agency.
This is what he responded. And look, they tweeted at this person, Javier Argueta. Okay. The Chivo wallet is an app accessible both for natural persons and for those merchants who wish to use the electronic wallet in their businesses, points out the legal advisor, okay, of the Presidencia SV. And he added this gentleman, right? Javier Argueta, who was quoted in the previous tweet that we showed as saying that people would be forced to use Bitcoin. Okay? So hold on. There's another piece to this right here. This is actually him right here responding to this article. Okay? He's responding to it. Sirs, for the right of rectification, I request that you download the tweet indicated here to correct it. It has not been said businessmen who do not use their wallets. Everyone decides which electronic wallet to use. Yes, it was a mistake when listening. So there's a lot of fuckery going on, okay, with all of this, and there's a lot of misinformation, and look, I'm doing the best I can to connect the dots, but that is some shady stuff. Like everything from Crypto Whale's tweet that showed a completely fake document that you can't find any trace of except for that screenshot. And then like this coming from a news agency, like you've got these two, you could see, you've got essentially the government saying one thing, you've got the news agency saying another thing, and you've got these crooked reporters that if you go look them up, like, look, I put all the links to the tweets in the show notes and everything. You guys can go look these people up. Like, you'll see. I mean, like, this guy just dumps on everything Bitcoin all the time. Like, this is what this reporter does. Like, and so he went and, propelled this story, right? That businessmen are essentially not being, businessmen are going to be sanctioned if they're not using Bitcoin in El Salvador, and this is completely untrue. So they're citing stories that don't exist to propel a message that's completely false.
Absolutely. And no, dude, look, it's clear that the opposition party there, right, they don't want this to succeed, right? And they're pulling whatever punches, whatever, they're saying whatever's necessary in order for people to have this false illusion, right, that Bitcoin, that people are being forced to use Bitcoin against their will. Clearly, Nayib Bukele and, the commercial that we've played for you guys on the show, and I did the translation, has said many times it's optional. You could keep operating like nothing's happening. You don't have to use Bitcoin if you don't want to. But as Nayib Bukele has also mentioned many times, right, dude, you know, if you want to pay more, if you want to pay Western Union a 30% fee because that's what makes you happy, go right ahead. You know, Bitcoin is just there because it offers a better solution, right? And also, to be fair, Phil, I found some more information on the thing. Let me pull it up real quick, right?
Thank you, yes.
So I found some more information.
I guess it's not FUD then. But they turned it off for different reasons.
So here's the thing, though, right? Because crypto whale is still being insincere, and I'll tell you why in a second. Crypto wallet disabled as people in El Salvador rush to use Bitcoin. So, and the reason they rushed in is because the government, right, incentivized $30 of free Bitcoin, right? And again, this wasn't because the Chivo app, this wasn't because of El Salvador, this was because the servers couldn't deal with the amount of volume. And another thing, right, that I think Crypto Whale was being insincere about is, again, you don't have to use the Chivo wallet, which Nayib Bukele has said many times. You could use a variety of open source Bitcoin wallets that have nothing to do with the government. But if someone's offering you $30 of free Bitcoin, what app do you think you're going to choose? Just saying. Just saying.
It's true. No, you're absolutely right, and I appreciate you saving my ass on that one. That's a good one. I didn't find that article, so that's interesting, right? They went to turn them off. The reason why it's not, it was overloaded, but essentially what they wanted to do was they wanted to increase the capacity in the system. So it was a growing pain. So not something bad. So
it was a good problem to have. But again, you know, I think you hit the nail on the head. The insincerity from Crypto Whale, right, and the insincerity from that reporter, right, that essentially is saying, and they don't even mind lying as long as it makes Bitcoin look bad. Now, here's the thing. That might work the day of launch. But 4 years from now, as we approach the next halving, right, and Bitcoin tends to go up the year after the halving, they're going to start looking like Peter Schiff, like a fact, because number grow up technology, it's going to do its thing, right? Bitcoin is going to be significantly higher than it is now because that's what it's supposed to do. That's how it's designed, right? It's a feature, not a bug, right? It's an awesome feature. So again, these people are just going to be like the Homer Simpson meme, you know, old man screaming at sky. That's what's going to end up happening, you know? So let them hate, let them do their thing. Bitcoin is designed to be attacked. That is literally what it's for, right? So again, you resist the honey badger, you have fun staying poor, you adopt it, you flourish, and you enrich yourself. So good luck to the opposition. They're definitely going to need it. Anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Meme Review, sponsored by
Citadel 21. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we got two special memes by two fellow plebs in honor of celebrating what is happening in El Salvador today. You guys are going to see this tomorrow. But today, the day that we are recording it, is the day that the world will never be the same because Bitcoin just became legal tender in El Salvador. And this is what happens when Bitcoin becomes legal tender in a country. El Salvador 2040. Amazing. And give the credit. This meme was brought to us by Texan Hodl. Definitely give him a follow. Definitely a fellow plebe. Anyways, the next meme is brought to us by also a fellow plebe, Dennis.Hodl. And you can go follow him at Zindit 871501009. And this was replying to, of course, CNN flooding, and we'll get to that in a sec. But anyways, IMF, I could offer you $1 billion. I require only that you kneel. And the $1 billion, of course, is referencing the IMF loan. We've covered this many times. We had Lord Fusucho on the show. It's a predatory loan. It's a loan that they give you that they don't expect that you're able to pay back, because they want you in handcuffs. And anyways, El Salvadorians now see that's going to be a problem. Awesome source material. It's from the movie 300, and you know, that's what's his name? I forget. The king, the 300. Oh my god, the king's name from 300, I forget.
I don't know, I forgot.
Anyways, awesome source material. Love the memes. I think it's very, very appropriate for the times, and because it's so appropriate, the people that have read this book are going to understand this reference. I'm going to give it The Sovereign Individual, a must-read book if you're into Bitcoin. What about you, Phil?
Somehow, we always end up, you know what? In spirit of your score, and in spirit of these, you know, of those memes and self-sovereignty, I'm going with more Seed Signer swag, going with the Seed Signer sticker.
Ooh!
You know, I'm never gonna stick that I'm never sticking that on a wall. It's staying in mint. Like,
Well,
that's it.
I'm
Now it's
kind of
going
jealous
in
now because I want a sticker from Seat Signer. Oh man, maybe I should have just had no shame like you.
Should have had no shame like me.
I should have had no shame like you.
Never offer me swag unless it's like, yeah, you could offer me those Bitcoin shoes and I'll say no.
I love,
but other stuff.
I
I'll
love
take.
the stickers because I like putting them on my wall. You know.
Yes.
But anyways, all right, Phil, it's time for
The Daily News, sponsored by
Crypto Cloaks.
Sería un pumpkin spice frappuccino grande con leche de almendras, un bacon gouda y un americano grande. Su total sería de 13,10.
Perfecto.
Ahí está. Listo. Te va a salir a vos.
Sí, hoy sí está aprobado.
Perfecto.
what you just witnessed was freaking history, right? You saw an immediate payment using the Lightning payment. That was someone buying coffee at a Starbucks without the need of bigger blocks in an instant, right? And again, you could travel from anywhere around the world, right? You don't have to convert your money, right? You could just spend sats, right? If you use the Strike app, you know, you don't even have to do that. It converts it automatically from whatever fiat shitcoin you're using automatically to precious Satoshi, so you could spend it there, man. This is the future. This is what it's all about. Instant settlement, instant payment without any bureaucracy in the middle. There's no need for middlemen, man. And anyone who's against that wants to be a slave owner. That's what they want. They want to be a slave owner. They're parasitic in nature. They want that rent that they're used to collecting because of how the legacy system operates, right? What you saw there is the future. That's the future we're heading in. Anyone who fights that is going to have fun staying poor, and people and countries, nation states that adopt it are going to flourish, right? Phil, what are your thoughts, man? That was history, bro.
Right.
That was paying for a coffee in a country where Bitcoin is legal tender and a snap of a finger.
Where was Roger? I don't understand. Normally Roger's in those coffee videos. Where was Roger? I miss him. I want to see him standing there and talking about Bcash. I'm sorry. It's just so funny. Anytime I see people buying coffee with Bitcoin, I think of shitcoins. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. It's super cool. Okay, like it's awesome. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It totally, it's totally revolutionary, and it's like, it's life-changing for all of us, and it's amazing. But at the same time, I think it's hilarious because so many shitcoins, right? So many phonies base their stupid projects on this ridiculous narrative, right? That Bitcoin isn't fast enough and it's slow and the blocks are too small and all this. And like, what just happened? That was at Starbucks. That's not good.
The shitcoin and fiat matrix is breaking simultaneously. A lot of heads are blowing up. We're going to cover that in a second. But first, let's talk about some more history, shall we? Let's check this out. By Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, buying the dip. 150 new coins added. Of course, he's referencing, the fall that we had from 52K all the way down to 43, 44, right? And check this out, right? Shots fired across the bow. It appears the discount is ending. Thanks for the dip. At IMF News, we saved $1 million in printed money. El Salvador now holds 550 Bitcoin. Boom! Printed money. Break it down, right? He called out the scam, which is fiat, when he said printed money, and he directed this tweet at the IMF. Again, in solidarity, right? Every single Bitcoiner today all across the world, right, stacked $30 of Bitcoin, right? We tried to do it, and there was the crash. There was the price crash, and this caused all the major US Bitcoin shitcoin exchanges to buckle as Bitcoin's price fell. And anyways, the article, and why?
My hardware wallet didn't buckle. I don't know. I don't understand. Nothing happened there.
Nothing happened there. And check out the exchanges that fell, right? It was Coinbase, it was Kraken, it was Gemini, and others reported that users have been affected in various ways. So what could you get from this, right? It's very simple, right? Again, shout out to everybody stacking $30 at the same time. Maybe that had something to do with it. The El Salvador becoming legal tender definitely had something to do with it. But the lesson that you can get from there, right, is if you do want to screw over the IMF, right, a much better way to do it, right, is to put your Bitcoin into cold storage, and then you don't really have to worry about whether exchanges are up or down. Phil?
I just think that that's hilarious. I mean... Okay, so don't get me wrong. Like, I don't know how many other 10K candles we've had. I mean, it depends on what timeline you put it on. I think that happened to us that was 3 30-minute candles, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. Anyways, I think that's... Number one, I think that means that the exchanges need to check their infrastructure, because Bitcoin is volatile, as everybody keeps reminding everyone, and somehow that's a bad thing. But if you ask me, volatility is opportunity. Because there's a lot of people that were watching Bitcoin climb above 50K and wanted to stack more sats. And today they got a really good chance. And man, it was great. Dipped down to like 42K. So who cares? Who cares? Like, you know what? Let these exchanges suffer. And if you're keeping your corn there, that you shouldn't. And that's your problem. You know, like that. I wouldn't. You know, I learned my lesson. So, you know what? Who cares at the end of the day, right? If that happens, look, they need to make their infrastructure stronger. Why does it matter? Why does it matter so much if the Bitcoin price if the Bitcoin price fluctuates like that? Why does that even make a difference? Oh, it's because all the shit coins are tethered to it. Oh, that's right. I forgot. even less of a reason to care.
I would rather have volatility historically going up than low volatility slowly going down over time. Where would you rather put your value? Just saying. No one has ever lost a dime in USD value if they've held their Bitcoin for 4 years. And again, it's 4 years because that is the halving cycles. If you the cheat to Bitcoin is start thinking in halvings. Don't think in any other time frame. But anyways, so it was again, right? It was a historic day, right? And because it was a historic day, the evil MFers, right, all over the world, the mainstream media, the fiat economists, all had a total panic attack. And like we've been saying this is going to happen. The rhetoric is going to keep intensifying because this is a direct attack to the powers at be. Anyways, let's go down this road, shall we? Okay.
I'm excited.
All right, we got our favorite, Steve Hanky the Panky. In El Salvador, President Bukele is acting as a madman. He just announced that El Salvador purchased 200 highly speculative Bitcoin. Is it really highly speculative? You know what I think? I think that the dollar is highly speculative. Why? Because it's based on nothing. Anyways, my thought, it's easy to speculate with taxpayers' money, right? It's easy to speculate. Yeah, what about the $80 billion we just left in Afghanistan? What about that, huh? No, you can't mention that. But they would love to put in the infrastructure bill to pass them this draconian thing to make sure that they collect $30 billion from the Bitcoin and shitcoin community, even though they left $80 billion overseas. But we're not allowed to ask that, right? Anyways, moving on. More Steve Hanky the Panky. He's a slave master, bro. This is what this guy is. Bitcoin plunged 19% to a 24-hour low of $42,921 per Bitcoin. Bitcoin's volatility is an obvious reminder that it could never be a reliable unit of account and thus could never be used as a currency. Bitcoin is nothing more than a highly speculative asset Nayib Bukele's Bitcoin law will doom. Guess what, dude? It is a currency. It was just deemed a currency.
Get it.
And dude, and you know what? You're not from El Salvador. This law passed legally. It was democratically passed. And guess what? You have no say in it. And you know what? It's going to bring peace, prosperity, and freedom to the people of El Salvador to get out of the tyrannical grasp that you have on them, because that is what the US dollar does, right? When the US prints, when the US is passing, they're floating around a $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill. Who pays for that? The rest of the world does. Anyone who's holding the dollar is paying for that. So Steve Hanke conveniently leaves none of that out. And of course, he also doesn't mention the fact that 23% of El Salvador's economy is remittances. 23%. So imagine if they could save up to 30% in remittance fees by using Bitcoin. And they don't even have to use the currency itself. They could just use the rails. And that's exactly what Strike is doing. But of course, slave masters or modern slave masters like Steve Hanke can't have any of that, because Bitcoin is a direct threat to their system, and Bitcoin highlights all the failures of the legacy financial system. And that is why Steve Hanke is having a panic attack. He knows it's coming. Anyways, moving on to more mainstream media meltdowns. We got Bitcoin's mining consumes 0.5% of all electricity used globally and 7 times Google's total usage, new report says. Right now, here's the thing, right? If you compare the amount of electricity used, compare it to the military industrial complex, Bitcoin is a drop in the bucket. But of course, they couldn't put that in here because it destroys their narrative, right? And how about that? How about this? A monetary network that ensures private property rights and freedom for all mankind. Oh, and not to mention, it doesn't use electricity that's already being used. It's using stranded electricity, meaning electricity that was already going to waste. But of course, they don't want to tell you that. Why? Because it breaks the narrative. And we already know that all these mainstream media propaganda people work for the establishment. They work for the powers that be. And Bitcoin is a threat to that. So of course they would react this way. And of course we have an article from Reuters. El Salvador's world's first adoption of Bitcoin hits a snag. Why does it hit a snag? Because the fiat dollar garbage price, it took a little bit of a tumble. Why? I wonder who was behind that tumble. Just a question. Anyways, my favorite, last but not least, check out this article by our favorite mainstream media propaganda arm, CNN Business. El Salvador buys Bitcoin as the digital currency becomes legal tender. El Salvador became, check this out, Phil. This made my blood boil. El Salvador became the first country to adopt Bitcoin as a national currency on Tuesday, kicking off a radical monetary experiment that could pose risk to the fragile economy. You know what was a radical experiment? 1971. Fiat money. We're living through it, right? The greatest wealth inequality in history was caused by your radical fucking monetary experiment. And as a result, because it was such a shitty system, Bitcoin was born. Anyways, says it in the goddamn Genesis block. Chancellor, on the second bailout for banks. It says it right there, man. Okay, anyways, Bukele, and check this out. Again, a lot of noise here, but here's the signal. Bukele, a right-wing populist, who else was a right-wing populist? Donald Trump. Look what they did to him. Look what the media did to him. Again, we're apolitical on this show, but again, check it out.
They're the ones that swung.
Remember the Russia collusion story for 4 years that ended up being fake, and every single mainstream media article peddled it? Why? Again, because Trump was a threat to the system. Whether you like him or not, that's just the reality of it. Bukele's right-wing populist, who rose to power in 2019, announced a plan to start using Bitcoin in June. Some citizens have embraced the technology, while others are wary. Jose Abraham Cerrón, a baker, told CNN that it's not difficult to deal in Bitcoin, but Blanca Estela Ponce, the owner of a nearby tortilla shop, says she prefers cash. Bitcoin is something new, and we don't have information about it. That was the criticism. Bitcoin is something new, and we don't have enough information about it. That was the criticism. Now, I'm going to move on and see who else. Again, they interviewed 2 people from living in El Salvador. They're actually from El Salvador. So far, it was a pro comment saying, hey, it's not that hard to use. And it was a neutral comment saying, hey, I kind of just don't know what to use it. I don't really know much about it, right? At the same time, remember, guys, they can keep on using the dollar if they so wish. Nothing changes. Anyway, however, social organizations have asked the Salvadorian government to repeal the law, largely because they fear the extreme volatility of the cryptocurrency. Are they holding? They have a choice whether or not to hold Bitcoin or not. And again, they don't mention which social organizations. They leave that out completely, conveniently. Bitcoin has recovered some lost ground following a dramatic crash earlier this year, but it remains well below its record high of nearly 65,000 set in April. The price was 46,930 on Tuesday, down 9.1% in the past 24 hours, according to Coinbase. This is who they get to criticize Bitcoin. This is the best part. This is a cherry on top. The International Monetary Fund, which provided an emergency loan to El Salvador last year and is now negotiating another round of lending. They want another round of lending because they want to imprison them more. Has a very dim view of using Bitcoin as legal tender, saying that doing so raises a number of economic, financial, and legal issues. Shut the fuck up. And Kristalina Georgieva, managing director of the IMF, said, how do we know what we collect in taxes? When Bitcoin goes up, Bitcoin goes down. How do we plan for expenditures? Remember in April, Bitcoin crossed 65,000, then it dropped almost half. That is the problem that the Ministry of Finance is going to be wrestling with. It's not an easy one. Oh, and I know you love Moody's, Phil. In late July, Moody's Investor Service pushed El Salvador's debt rating deeper into junk territory. Oh my God. You know, what was that picture that you showed the other day? That they waited till last second to put Enron
that was with Enron. When Enron was at $3 a share and had completely plunged and everyone had jumped ship, finally they downgraded it.
A deterioration in the quality of policymaking, including the government's decision to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. Moody's said the country remains susceptible to financial shocks that could jeopardize the government's ability to repay creditors starting in January 2023. Now, there's a lot of signal in the last part, guys. Okay, so that's how the IMF gets you. They give you loans that they know that you can't repay. Right? And essentially what they're saying right here is, listen, guys, because you bought Bitcoin, you're not going to be able to repay those loans, even though we know that you're not going to be able to repay those loans in the first place. They're using the fact that they gave these loans, and they're giving $1 billion out of fake money that they created out of nowhere. Right, and they're using that in order to stomp on top of people, stomp on top of El Salvador, stomp on top of. We had Lord Fusuita, Kingdom of Congo. He said the same thing. They give these loans. It's a predatory loan, right? And again, Bitcoin is a way out of their system, and that's why they're reacting the way they're reacting. They're reacting the way that they're reacting because Bitcoin is going to highlight the failures of their system. It's going to put it front and center, right? Because now, right, like also a part that I haven't seen that many people talk about, right, is that Bitcoin is becoming legal tender alongside the US dollar, right? So it's going to highlight the failures of fiat, the failures of the US dollars. It's going to show the world that if I hold dollars, I'm going to constantly lose value, but more importantly, if I hold dollars, it's going to constantly lose value towards Bitcoin. Why? Because Bitcoin has absolute scarcity, right? And it cannot be debased by anyone, right? Again, this is going to be a hell of a fight, guys, but we're very happy to be in the trenches with all of you. And man, I'm so excited, bro. And shout out to the people of El Salvador. Phil?
Man, I feel like our whole entire episode today was one giant, ball of fail. Like, I feel like it was just like one thing after another. And like, okay, I want to go back to something you were on about before with the Steve Hanke article. And I just want to point out, okay, while he sits there talking about how Bitcoin plunged, okay, I want people to remember that at this time last year, we were sitting at around $10,500. Not that the fiat price makes a difference, but to these fools, it does. Okay, and they pretend like it matters. So if it matters so much, we're talking about Bitcoin, quote unquote, plunging, okay, from 52 to 42K. Don't get me wrong, but like, that's really, it's like plunging to the upside. We've made that joke before, but it's true. Like when Bitcoin, even when Bitcoin goes down, it's still going up. I know that sounds insane, but take a look at the chart. Like we're not lying. Go take a look. That's what it looks like. So at the end of the day, who cares? Who cares what Steve Hanke thinks? He's absolutely insane and ridiculous. And I swear, I've said this before, they animate these people. You know what I mean? It's like they bring them to life. I don't know if they're like swamp creatures and they have their whole family held hostage or something, and they force them to talk whenever they're needed. But that is what it seems like. And the other piece was, when you were talking about the article with Google, right? Like, why are they comparing why are they comparing Bitcoin's power usage to a corporation that uses our information against us to sell to advertisers? Like, we are the product they sell to advertisers. Why do we care? Like, why are we comparing freedom money to some garbage corporation? Like, it's so disingenuous and psychotic. And the problem is, this is a reflection of how stupid they think we all are. They're telling you this information because they think we're stupid. And because they think we're going to look at it and go, you know what? That does make sense. Why is it using more power than Google 7 times on top of that? I don't get it. There must be something wrong with Bitcoin. They must be right. Like, are you kidding me? No one thinks like that. Like, that's how stupid they think we are. But we're not. We're not that stupid. And that's the truth. So, man,
the connection fell and Phil was on an epic angry Canadian rant. Ah! Anyways, you'll catch it next time, guys. I'm sure there'll be many more. But Phil, there was a website by Plebe. Why don't you show everybody about it?
Websites by Plebs or Plebs. All right, here we go, guys. I wanted to highlight stuff to make it easier for everybody, okay, to read, but unfortunately the site disables right-click. Thank you. Thank you for disabling right-click. I really appreciate it. You're really stopping horrible criminals. Good job. Way to go. Anyways, still a site by Plebs. Let's go. What is that? btreec.com. Okay, anyways, this is actually pretty interesting, okay? Pretty cool stuff. So Bitcoin plus trees plus civics. Yeah, I had to look it up. It's not the civics shitcoin. Okay, they're talking about something completely different. Equals BTC. A BTC is a grove of trees, ideally giant sequoias, planted by Bitcoiners and stewarded by Bitcoiners as an act of service for the generations to come. It serves as a local forum to gather and coordinate human effort towards projects that promise long-term value to the community. It's a meeting place for citizens is a publicly accessible Bitcoin node or QR code that serves as a portal for transfer value between one another and facilitate other yet to be imagined use cases. Bitcoin is a public utility and as such should have public interfaces. That's right, guys. We're sticking lightning nodes in the trees. Now we can feel good about being tree-hugging wieners.
All right, guys, that was our show. You heard that. You could also put, not only are Bitcoin nodes in space, now they're in freaking trees. Freaking epic. Guys, I want to give a shout out to our awesome sponsors. Definitely check out cryptocloaks.com for all your 3D Bitcoin needs, and you get 5% off down below. Get yourself a Bitcoin grenade. And of course, our other sponsor, Citadel 21. Get raw plebs signal. Hear the best stories from Bitcoin plebs for Bitcoin plebs. Citadel21.com. Guys, that was our show. You know what to do. If you enjoyed the show, smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the catastrophic fails from Steve Hanke, all of them, we cover them all, and the Bitcoin news from the pleb perspective, definitely consider subscribing. And we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for another episode of Simply Bitcoin.
The circus is looking more like a house of horrors.